early morning edition. Didn't get an opportunity to do this yesterday, so catching up with several to get things going before the day starts. I believe on my birthday I talked about Belle. Perfect companion piece for Beauty and the Beast. Highly recommend you check that out. Okay. If I didn't talk, no, I know I did. I talked about Belle. Good morning, guys. Good to see you, Steve-O. Let's talk about Beverly Hills Cop. Why this film is part of my collection is, I mean, I grew up in a fairly conservative community. Christian, well-meaning, all the other things. Movies were just starting to come back onto the sort of allowed activity. Going into a deep dive. So in the Christian Reformed Church, as I was growing up, my parents were told that they were not allowed to dance, play cards, or go to the movies. Those were worldly activities. And that was passed on to us, but we were coming up when like some of the greatest movies were out. And the mores were, our parents weren't, we had a deck of cards. It wasn't like they held our feet to the fire about it. I mean, Dad took me to see Star Wars on my 8th birthday, which was a watershed moment. We'll talk about that later. But Beverly Hills Cop came out, and we were all massive Eddie Murphy fans. No one was funnier. On Saturday Night Live at the time, nobody was, so when, 48 Hours came out, and 48 Hours wasn't for, it's a funny movie, but it's a procedural, it's a hard R, right? Like there's violence, there's the whole thing. And then Trading Places came out, and Trading Places, John Landis comedy with Danny Aykroyd, like it's super funny, but still, like, it didn't have the same kind of appeal as Beverly Hills Cop. Beverly Hills Cop had the music, it had the music videos. We were all a little bit older, and Eddie Murphy Comedian had come out, his stand-up album, which, I mean, if you didn't have a bootleg of it, you passed it around the school. So Beverly Hills Cop come out, and you got to be, 16 to get into the rated R pictures. And this is all we wanted to see. Everybody, I'm trying to remember if this was like 84, I think. So I was definitely like junior high. And one of my friends had seen it, was like, it's the funniest movie you can imagine. And I just pined to see it. I never got to see it in the theater, but we ended up, when it came out on VHS, one night my mom was out of town or something, and my dad rented it, and we watched it together. I'm just remembering that for the first time. But man, like, Beverly Hills Cop set the world on fire. The music is so great. The Pointer Sisters, Glenn Frey, the Axel F theme, all of it. So it's got a great place here in that way of like kind of helping me to discover comedy as well, and really did help set my watching warrant to what I wanted to do with my life. Okay, next one. Big Hero 6. I don't have many animated pictures in my collection of 4K films, but this film is really something special. Maybe one of the most moving Disney animated films, and that's saying a lot, but Big Hero 6 is really wrestling with grief and confidence and getting a team. And I took my daughter to see it. I don't think either one of us were prepared for what we got. Baymax is such a great character. Scott Adsit voices him, and he's a Second City alumni along with 30 Rock and all the other things Scott did. But this, it's hard to pin down why this one is important to me, but I felt like I needed to have it. When Disney California Adventure redid a big chunk of their Pacific Wharf dining area, and it's right between like Pixar Pier and and Cars Land, and they rethemed it all to be San Francisco, which is the mashup sort of between San Francisco and Tokyo. That is the setting for Big Hero 6. And it's I don't know, I kind of love it over there. It just feels edgy and cool. And yeah, Big Hero 6 is a terrific film, and I can't get through it without completely weeping. We saw it in 3D too, so like if you go see a really sad movie in 3D and your eyes are, you're crying and everything. Okay, next picture. The Big Lebowski. Man, I'm going to confess something. I did not understand this film. I didn't understand the love surrounding it. It was one of those movies that I felt like people would say, well, it's kind of like with Pink Floyd, The Wall. Well, if you're not high, you won't understand it. And then like, well, if you watch Big Lebowski high, it's like you're watching a different movie, man. It's like you just understand things differently. And I didn't feel that to be the case. It didn't. To me, that's not a mark of great filmmaking, that you can watch it one way and then you watch it in another state, that it's a better, different, or it speaks to you in another way. It just didn't make sense. I couldn't fathom that that's how the filmmakers were working it. But I took the plunge and watched the film and just didn't get it. The thing that struck me about it, about why I keep it in my collection now, is it had nothing to do with the drugs. It had nothing to do with the weed and all those other things. That's context. That's not the state that you need to be in to enjoy it. And you get an opportunity to see a really, like, oh yeah, well, Dan Campbell's got a good sense of taste. It's a terrific film. That's the thing, is it's kind of like, it's like most Coen brother films. You kind of have to get on its wavelength a little bit. And that's what it took me to do. So once I acclimated to it and kind of found, I mean, there are certainly moments that are hilarious. Peter Stormare as the nihilists, Julianne Moore's performance is out of this world, and Jeff Bridges and John Goodman together are magic. It's just it's a singular movie, and that's another part of it. And part of the reason I collect certain things is, like, I might not fully love or understand or fully appreciate a picture, but if it's really unique, I think that deserves celebration. And I'm happy to have it, and I have an ongoing relationship with that movie, and I'm getting it sorted. Okay. Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. I don't know that I've been more unnerved or scared by a film. When I noticed that there's no score, Tippi Hedren is lovely, and what I love too about a lot of Hitchcock films is that this film really starts off as a comedy. It's like almost the character work that's running throughout this film is pretty remarkable. And then when it takes a turn, it turns so horrifically hard. I remember my parents my mom specifically talking about this being the scariest film she'd ever seen. And then you're like, it's all built up, and things that are scary in the 50s and 60s sometimes don't feel as scary in the 70s and 80s when you might catch up with it. But this one absolutely did. And you really appreciate tension across. Anyway, so The Birds. If you haven't seen it, you should absolutely take it in. It's just, it's a surprise. All right, last one for this morning, then I got to wake the family up. A Bittersweet Life. This is a blind buy. I've not watched it yet. But I was so caught up by the artwork, by the way it's shot. It's, I believe it's a Korean crime saga in the vein of Heat or Old Boy. The lead, I had just finished watching Squid Game Season 2, and the lead is the actor who plays First Man on the show. And after watching the trailer and reading some reviews while I was standing at Amoeba, and it wasn't full price. It was just there, kind of like when you go to Amoeba, sometimes people will buy stuff and return it, and, bring back used discs and that kind of thing. So this one was like missing the Blu-ray or missing something, or was open, so it was less expensive. So it was generally my blind buys. I don't buy blind things shrink wrapped or pre-order, whatever. Unless it's on discount or something like that. I'm trying to be frugal on things that I might not love. And believe me, I've got a couple things in here that I bought that I'll never watch again, that I liked enough in the time, but didn't love. That's my next film, actually. Let's get to it. Yeah, bonus. I need to catch up with it, I guess, or finish it, but I didn't love what I was seeing. Arrow Video, again, mark of high quality. The film is Blackhat. It's Chris Hemsworth, Viola Davis, Michael Mann directed it. And so, to me, I'm kind of thinking like a studio, like, oh, that sounds great. A Michael Mann picture about a tech thriller with Chris Hemsworth, hot off of Avengers, and Viola Davis, who's wonderful. I think there's someone else in there who I know. But man, I was really disappointed in the script. It looks gorgeous, but how sometimes sometimes there's nothing to fault with the direction, the way the script is, the performances, the costumes, and you can get over bad screenplay. But sometimes it just sits there on the screen, and that's how I felt about Blackhat. Like, what I was looking at was pretty, and there were terrific performances happening, but I was so far ahead of the script and so didn't care. Here's a pet peeve of mine. I hate it, like in Spider-Man 2. The action pieces in Spider-Man 2 are great, but we spend a lot of time with Peter Parker walking around after he's thrown the Spider-Man costume in the trash. And it's really, really boring to watch a superhero not want to be a superhero. Basically, the principal conflict of Spider-Man 2 is that Peter Parker's always late. That's the big issue. We watched Spider-Man 3 over the weekend, and I found that to be a lot more engaging than Spider-Man 2. I kind of love Black Sheep. So my hope for Blackhat was that it was the black sheep of the Michael Mann canon. And what's up, Check It TV? Good to see you, man. And sadly, it wasn't. Now, maybe like with Big Lebowski, I got to get in the right headspace to enjoy it. I'll try it once again. I like everybody involved. I love the way it was shot. I love movies that are about the city. Michael Mann has made some of my favorite pictures, in particular about L.A. So we'll see. All right, last one, I promise. Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. Big swing. And so many amazing performances, and man, a movie about redemption, like a film that takes the idea of Dracula and uses as a metaphor for man falling out from God, and then over the course of their life trying to find redemption and come back. Broad strokes. Coppola's visual style with the compositing and all the in-camera effects. When you watch that thing now, and we've been spoiled by CG, when you watch that thing, I mean, that is a practical effects extravaganza. Matte paintings, and God, the soundtrack. If you haven't watched Bram Stoker's Dracula in a while, and people love to, highlight great Nicolas Cage over-the-top performances. I'm a huge Nicolas Cage fan, but man, Anthony Hopkins, what Anthony Hopkins does as Van Helsing is next level. Him and Gary Oldman are just killing it. A lot of people came at Keanu Reeves and his dialect as Harker in this. Those are easy things to pick on. Dialect is really, really hard, and really hard to sustain over the course of 4 or 5 months. Not to mention the fact that some people that isn't their strength. But what Keanu's strength has always been to me is like that dude lives in his eyes, and he has such a wonderful well of empathy in his work, even in his young work. You see it in Speed. You see it. I mean, you really do see it in the John Wick films. We recently watched Dracula, and he carries so much more gravitas and weight that I remember when I saw it back in high school. So, yeah, it's one of those films again. Big swing, and I'm a huge fan of big swings. Anyway, that's several of the movies that are in my collection and why they're there. Thank you so much for popping in this morning. I leave you to it. Here's more later.